Hey folks, I am here at KubeCon, and we've been talking to a lot of folks about ChartSmith, and it seems to be something people are really interested in. So I wanted to quickly record a little bit of a preview demo for you to show you what you can do. ChartSmith is our new AI agent to help with building and evolving your Helm charts. We're going to start from Greenfield. We're going to build a Helm chart for the application post facto. This is an application that was built by Pivotal, used for retrospectives back when I worked there. It's application-wise, it's a little out of date. The Helm chart they created is a little out of date, so we're going to build a fresh Helm chart for it. Start here prompting ChartSmith with information about it and the version and where my image is going to be found. So let's give it a go. First thing ChartSmith always does is show you the plan for what it's going to do. It's telling me a little bit about what we're going to support, what the requirements are that I specified, how it's going to structure out the chart, including my dependencies for Postgres and Redis. I mentioned those in my prompt. It's going to use Bitnami for those. Not a bad idea. It's going to give me what I need to configure OAuth for Google. Makes it very customizable. Make sure to take account of things like pod security context, network policies, RBAC with least privilege, lots of things that honestly I don't remember to do when I'm doing something like this from scratch. In general, I like the plan, so I'm going to just click Create Chart here. So it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to drop a few files in here. Then it's going to go through and start editing the files from here, as well as adding a series of new files. Now, if you've done any agent-oriented coding, you know that they take a little bit of time to think and generate. So we're going to come back when it's done. So once it's finished with the editing and generating, it gives me the option to review everything. One of the things that's really interesting about agent-oriented development is that we really do spend a lot more time reading than writing the code that we're working with. And so this is a great example. So we can read through each file. We see sort of a diff-like view, and we can accept them one by one, or we can accept everything together. For our purposes today, I'm just going to accept everything. Of course, we also can reject in the same way. So next up, if I look through here, you can see I'm referring to this from GitHub. And I'm actually going to distribute with replicated, so I want to use the replicated image proxy. I've got another prompt here that's going to just mention that we're distributing with replicated and where the repository is going to be, and also ask that we break out the registry and repository. That'll help later if we're like doing air gap installs. So that will be useful. Again, ChartSmith's going to tell me the approach that it's taken, anything that that might be impacted by it, and ask me if I want to proceed. I like this advice. I like the way it's doing it, right? Splitting up the values the way I asked it to, adding in helpers to work. Actually, I guess it already has the helpers, but making sure that they work with this new structure, and not making any compatibility or requirements changes. So hit proceed. It's going to start, again, sort of telling me which files it's going to change and which, if any, it's going to add, and then give me the opportunity to read through the changes. So we've got 3 files changing. We'll start seeing the diffs pop up over here, and then we'll be able to review those and accept them. Again, let's give it a little time to work, and I'll be right back with you. Once the work is finished, it's going to show me that all 3 files have been changed correctly, or changed as expected. I can start to read through the files for the changes that it made. I can see there was a mistake here. It dropped helpers template, a whole new file, instead of editing the existing one. So I can reject that change. I can accept this change to my values file. Does what I wanted it to do there. And then I can check the deployment. I can see it's using that image helper. So right now that's still going to be the old version. I'm still going to accept it, and then I'm going to sort of give it a little nudge. And, we're working with an agent. This is going to happen occasionally. So, good news is I was able to accept and reject independently the different changes. So let's see what happens here. All right, it's laid out its plan. I'm going to hit proceed and wait while it makes those updates. All right, looks like those changes were made. I take a look here. Oh, actually, looks like it repeated its plan, so cool. Shows me that it's updating my existing file and deleting the one that it created accidentally there, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So cool. And so now I'm going to move on to my next prompt. I'm using the replicated proxy registry here, so I need authentication. So I'm just letting it know that, telling it where to find the Docker config and having it put together the image pull secrets. So again, describing out its plan. It's always going to tell me what it's going to do, ask me if I want it to proceed. I proceed through that. And it's going to start analyzing through the files, identifying the changes it needs to make. I'm going to create a new registry secret. It's going to update the helpers and the deployment and the values so it can work with that. And so let's give it its time to do its work, and then we'll take a look. So it's made its changes. I can review them. I can see it's creating the image pull secret the way I need it. It's updated my values file so that I can add in additional ones. That's going to help me out when I have an air-gapped installation. Updated my helpers to get the image pull secrets and my deployment to use them. So that's looking great. I'm going to accept all of those changes. And then we can move on. Let's do something that you might want to do actually already with your existing charts, right? I'm going to ask it to use Gateway API. You can see I've got an ingress in here, but Gateway API is, it's been around for a while. I think a lot of us, are sort of feeling like ingress is good enough and not spending time learning it, but I don't have to spend time learning it because the ChartSmith is going to do it for me. So drop that prompt in there. It's going to start making those changes, and then I'm going to have this be Gateway API enabled. So it's going to propose its plan as usual, and then I'm going to go through. I'm going to review the plan and tell it to proceed. Let's go. It's going to figure out which files it needs to update and add. I'm assuming there'll be some updates to values. It mentioned helpers, chart YAML, etc. So going through there, adding new files for the HTTP route, the gateway, updating the notes, probably to reference the gateway. And let's let it do its work. All right, so I go through the changes. I've got my gateway, my HTTP route, some notes, updates to my values, updates to my chart YAML. Notice it changed the Kubernetes version, also bumped our version because we're making changes here. But changed that Kubernetes version because of using Gateway's API, changed our compatibility overall. So I'm going to reject this change. Again, it sort of made that mistake again with the helpers. So I'm going to reject that file, and I'm going to switch over to one of the other ones. I'm going to accept all the rest. And then I'm going to nudge it again to fix that helpers. All right, so I nudged that little fix in there. Now I'm going to move along and start asking for my pre-flight checks and my support bundles, because these are pretty critical for my customers being able to work with my chart well. So first I'm going to prompt for my pre-flights, right? I want to add pre-flight checks. I'm going to mention that I want them in a separate directory under my templates because that's the way I like to organize it. And pre-flight checks can be either in a config map or a secret. I often use secret, but config map can actually be a little bit easier during development for debugging because I can read them a little more quickly. So I'm gonna nudge it towards using config map as well. So it gives me a plan here. Again, the types of checks that it's going to use. And what it's going to do around them, some RBAC things, storage, networking, etc., Kubernetes checks, and that way my customers, when they install, they can run the pre-flight checks before they do their install and know if they're going to have a successful install. So it's laid out its plan, starting to make the changes. You can see it dropped pre-flights into the troubleshoot directory like I asked it to, even created some helpers for troubleshoot, and a little bit of README for what the troubleshoot stuff's about. So let's finish, let it do its work, and we'll come back and take a look. So my pre-flight checks are added in. You see I've got some a README about what we're checking. Going to be super useful for maintenance down the road. The checks themselves, including some conditionals so that it's only doing certain checks when it makes sense. My chart has been updated to mention that it uses troubleshoot and pre-flights, and some additional values here. So I'm going to accept all of those changes and then move on to adding a support bundle. Similarly with the support bundle, I'm going to ask that I'm going to mention which directory I want it to be in, and that I want it to be a config map rather than secrets. It's going to lay out the plan, going to include all the collectors and analyzers from pre-flights, because I nudged it to do that. It's a best practice that future iterations of ChartSmith will probably incorporate, but it's one of my best practices. I want to make sure that we did. He's going to tell me about statuses, data that can be useful to troubleshooting, all the pod logs. So basically the types of things I'd put in there myself, but it's going to do the work for me. So I'll hit proceed, let the plan move forward, and we'll let it execute. We'll come back and see what it did. All right, so looking at our changes, we've got a bump to our version. We've got some additional keywords to talk about what's going on here. Some new values that can help with what the support bundle is going to look like. Some updates to our README in the troubleshoot directory, talking about the different things we're doing, and then the support bundle definition itself. Various things that are going on in here, things it's collecting, deployment statuses, node resources, etc. So let's accept all those changes, and now we've got a chart that's in pretty good shape for distributing to our customers. We can now release this with the replicated platform and start building, say, the embedded cluster definition around it to continue serving our customers and getting our software to them.